So today we're starting in static back. And you've got your legs up on something, 90-degree hip, 90-degree knee. The height of whatever it is you're using, whether it's a chair, an ottoman, a block, is such that your heels are on it. So your legs aren't floating. And your hips are as close to it as they can be. And you will know it is the right height if you relax. Your hips will relax. You won't feel like you have to hold on to your legs. You are not going to feel like you want to push whatever it is away. Like, you shouldn't feel like you have to scooch away from it. It should feel just pretty easy to be here. Now, that being said, some of us are going to get down here and you're going to be incredibly uncomfortable. You're going to notice a bunch of tension in your back. You might feel like you have a really high arch. Very often, if there's rotation or a little bit of scoliosis, you're going to feel that. It's going to feel uneven left to right. So just knowing that if you're uncomfortable, it's okay. And you just want to try and let things settle. Now, very often you'll lay down and your chin will be higher. So you want to then get something like a couple blocks and just prop up your head to start. And if your back isn't comfortable, that's the first thing you go to. Just prop your head, see if that makes things better. Sometimes when we settle into static back, the back is immediately flat and it almost feels like your low back is pressing hard into the floor, and there can be pain or numbness in the low back and the tailbone. If that is the case for you, maybe static back isn't the place to start. Maybe instead you start in hook lying, which is knees bent, feet flat, a little bit of an arch in your back, and you can support the arch with a little bit of a roll. It's perfect. So once you've got yourself set up, just a little space between the arms and torso. Now, sometimes having this shavasana-like arm, there can be pain in the wrist, the hand, or the elbow. And if you've had any shoulder injuries, that can show up too. So particularly if your wrists are talking to you, you could prop the hand a little bit. As the tension in your arm lets go, hopefully over time, and it can take anywhere from 6 minutes to 600 years, eventually you let go of the propping and we just lie flat. You might choose to leave your eyes open. You might choose to close your eyes. Whatever feels most restful for you right now. Simply begin by noticing the feeling of the breath in the body. Every time you inhale, the body expands a little bit. Every time you exhale, the body settles. And keeping the feeling of the breath in the back of the mind, just scanning the body, noticing if you're holding tension, where you're holding tension, and can you let it go? Seeing all the little muscles in your face, your forehead, around your eyes, noticing the little muscles in your lips and your lower jaw. Allow your lips to soften. Allow the bottom jaw to relax away from the top jaw. Creating the conditions for the tongue to go quiet in the mouth. Noticing your neck. Gentle little arch in the back of the neck. Allowing for a softness in the throat. Feeling there on the fingers and the palms of the hands. Noticing the heaviness of the arms on the floor beneath you. Observing your shoulders. Do you have a sense that you're holding onto your arms? Can you let that go? Noticing your back. Top of the shoulders to the tailbone. Is the back settling level, right and left side? Observing the state of the hips. Back of the hip, the side of the hip. Is there any sensation in the hip joints? Noticing the front of the hip or the crease of the hip. The sense that there's gripping there. Are you resisting this? Noticing your inner leg, line from the knee to the groin. Do you have a sense that there's tension there, that you're holding your legs together? Can you let that go? Noticing your knees. Observing the alignment of your lower legs. From your knee to the heel. Are your shins parallel? Noticing your ankles. Any sensation in your feet. Body settled. Take a moment, just notice the state of the mind. Is the mind very busy? Is the mind very quiet? Take a moment, follow your thoughts. And maybe, you just let yourself think. That is okay. There's nothing inherently bad about a busy mind. Maybe you practice shifting the noticing from watching your thoughts back to feeling the breath. Today we're going to make the breath a little bit of an exercise. I want you to let your focus settle with the abdominal wall, so the space between the bottom of the rib cage and the top of the pubic bone. Every time you inhale, your belly is going to expand. Every time you exhale, the belly is going to hollow. Now, it can be helpful to actually put your hands on your stomach so you can feel that happening. And then we're going to make it a little bit of an exercise. Now, you want to watch with the exercise that you are not bearing down. You're not specifically changing the shape of the pelvic floor. And you also want to watch that you're not breathing into your upper chest. So the upper chest stays relatively still. We're going to inhale, belly expands. As you exhale, the belly hollows, and it can be helpful for the first little while as you exhale to exhale through your lips. As you exhale, feel the belly gather. At the end of the exhalation, there's some tension there. And if anything, we want to feel the belly hollow and the pelvic floor lift up a little bit. Then as you inhale again, belly expands. Pelvic floor expands, bottom edge of the rib cage expands. As you exhale, all of that in reverse. Bottom of the exhalation, you pause. Inhale, belly expands. Exhale, belly hollows. Gather the abdominal wall, hold. Keep breathing in that way. Notice as you're working with the breath, if tension shows up in other places, and it's tension, keep breathing, keep doing the exercise. These are reverse abdominal contractions. Recognizing that if tension shows up in your tongue or in your jaw or in your shoulders, it's not bad. It is just a habit, maybe. It is just something that shows up in your body. And so you observe it. You notice if you can let it go, and you keep doing the exercise. It is interesting to notice, maybe my feet get tense. Maybe my inner leg wants to grip while I'm working with my abdominal wall. A lot of this work we do in realignment and in the Vygotsky method is trying to isolate poorly used muscles so we can just become aware of them. And the more aware we are, and if we can isolate them and use them correctly, then maybe when we're moving about our day, we use those muscle groups more correctly or more efficiently, or whatever it is you want to call it. Just creating that change. So you're still inhaling, belly expands. Exhaling, belly hollows. At the end of the exhale, you pause, and then you inhale again. Now, finishing whatever breath you're on and letting go of that little bit of work. And you're gonna find your blocks. So you have 2 or 3 blocks. You're gonna set them between your knees. Watch that your feet don't get closer together. Arms and shoulders are still relaxed. Now you're letting go of the belly, so there's no tension in the belly, and it's just squeeze the blocks, relax. Squeeze the blocks, relax. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Now apply a steady, even pressure with the knees on the blocks. You can feel your inner leg working. Watch that your belly's relaxed. Watch that your hip flexors are relaxed. And then you're going to interlace your hands in front of you. So palms are touching, elbows are straight. You kind of think about turning your elbow pits to face one another. And then you're pulling your arms back and forth. I'm going to do that 10 times. So arms go back and forth. 3, watch that your ribs are not going with the arms. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now take the blocks out, set them aside. Try not to move too much when you do that. Let your arms and shoulders relax. Take a breath here and just observe if the state of the back has changed. And it might have and it might not have. You're going to bring your arms in front of you now. Hold on to your elbows. And we're just going to pull the elbows left to right. Little side to side. 2, 3. I like to think about the rib cage moving up the mat. 4, 5. Arms relax again. Take a breath. And then it's blocks between the knees again. Same thing, you're going to squeeze and release. Squeeze, release. 3, 4. It's interesting to notice what your feet want to do. 6, 7, 8. Interesting to notice if your hip flexors are gripping. 10. Try not to use your bum. 12. Try not to use your pelvic floor. 13, 14, 15. Belly's relaxed. 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Same again, steady even pressure. Interlace your hands. If you like to, you can change the interlace of your hands. The opposite thumb is on top. Turn your elbow pits to face one another. Pullovers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Let your arms relax. Now take the blocks out. Hands on elbows. Same again, little side to side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Let your arms relax. And again, just notice, has your back dropped? So in static back, eventually it's ears over shoulders over hips, totally flat back, neutral-ish pelvis. Again, if our lumbar arch totally flattens, your pubic bone's probably going to be a little higher than the top of the pelvis. If you feel comfortable, it's perfect. Now you're going to take your legs up off your chair or your block or whatever it is you're using. Stretch your legs out and lie flat. Now when we stretch our legs out and lie flat, if you can't, maybe you can see it a little bit, probably not because Gus is in the way. We're going to notice an arch show up in our back. So I just want you to stretch your legs out, lie flat, and notice how lying flat feels. I'm going to take a bolster and I'm going to prop my head and shoulders just a little bit. So essentially what I'm trying to do here is prop my rib cage down. So if I set the bolster kind of between my shoulder blades and I put my head on a block, you can see how there's no rib flare. My ribs are not popping up, they're dropping down. And that's what we're looking for. Should feel pretty comfortable. Now I know some of us have a ton of tension in our mid and low back. Some of us are very good at rib flare. And so you could spend a great deal of time with your ribs up and it can take a while for them to settle. And that's okay. So we're just hanging out here. Hopefully what we notice when we prop our head and shoulders, the other end drops down. So now your hamstrings are on the floor. You're going to grab a strap. You're going to take your strap, you're going to put it around the ball of your left foot, and you're going to start from the bottom. So we want ribs down, we want a neutral pelvis, we want both hamstrings on the floor. You're going to bring that left leg up towards you. So only so much that we can try and keep a straight knee. Think about relaxing your heel away from you and pulling your toes towards you. You may absolutely feel this in the heel, the Achilles tendon, the calf. You absolutely might feel it behind your knee, your hamstring. You can feel this all the way up into our hip and into our low back. If you get kind of a cringy pain, come out of it and start over. Or do your other side first. So if the first, like if you get into this and you're like, it's gross and yucky, switch sides, see if that helps. And then we're gonna add a little rotation. So your heel, your knee, and your hip are gonna stay in line. You're gonna turn the foot out, you're gonna turn the foot in. Little external rotation, little internal rotation. I don't know if you noticed, probably you don't. Over time, my chin keeps wanting to lift up, and that's just me kind of avoiding lengthening the back of my neck due to head forward posture. And so every now and then, just check in with your neck. Breathe. You can take one more breath here. You're gonna lower that leg down. And you lower down, you let go of your strap. Notice the circulation in your hands. Observe that maybe you're a little flatter than you were before. Maybe your ribs dropped a little bit. Maybe they didn't. And then we're going to switch sides. You're going to take that strap, you're going to put it around the ball of your right foot. You're going to pull the leg up. Never expect things to feel the same right and left side. It's another really interesting thing to notice, and I notice this in my body. Sometimes when I go into the hamstring stretch, my ribs want to pop up. And that is, again, a strategy for avoiding the tension in my back. So you want to notice as you move one end, does the other end want to pop up to compensate? And it is okay if your body does that, it's perfect. But if I'm doing an exercise specific to wanting to change something, you want to watch. If I'm trying to change or create sensation in my hamstring and my ribs pop up, maybe I've gone farther than I need to go today, so I could back off a little bit. You're breathing. And again, we're going to add a little rotation. So the heel, the knee, and the hip stay in line. You turn your foot out. You turn your foot in. Breathe. And again, we're going to lower that down. Just notice my legs feel a little longer. Do I feel a little flatter? What's going on in my hands? Then you're going to take whatever is underneath your head and shoulders out. And just notice how lying flat feels. Now for this next one, again, we're sort of targeting the tension between the base of the skull and the tailbone. And so if it feels good to have something under your head when you are lying flat, absolutely put something under your head. It's perfect. Then you're going to take your 2 blocks now, or a bolster, something roughly this height. You can use a regular yoga block as well. And you're going to set it underneath your pelvis. So, and I don't know, yeah, you can probably see my hip now. We are attempting to get ASIS, pubis symphysis, so your pubic bone, and what we might call our hip bones, in line with our femurs. So usually, sometimes we'll create a back bend here. So you can see I am in an arch, and here I have kind of a neutralish pelvis. That's not what I'm trying to do. What I'm actually trying to do is lengthen the front of the hip. So we're letting our ribs settle down and our pelvis tip back. So your pubic bone ends up being quite a bit higher than your hip bones. Couple things are going to happen here. There's going to be maybe a strong inclination to have your knees drop out. Try not to do that. Try and keep them parallel and pelvis width apart. And it's so cool to notice this maybe in your feet. Do your big toes want to come off the floor? Do your feet want to turn out? And you can try these things, like you turn your feet out and you're like, oh, it actually feels like there's less tension in my hip when I turn my feet out. Or I turn my feet out and there's no pull on my knee. If I make my feet parallel, maybe I get a hamstring cramp. Maybe I get a foot cramp. There's no good or bad position to be in. We're just noticing what our habits are, what our patterns are, trying to change them a little bit. Because that little bit of change is more movement. It's more movement in your foot. It's more length in your quads. It's maybe letting our hip flexors lengthen. There's a lot going on here. Do let your belly relax. Now, you're going to bring your right knee into your chest. As you bring your right knee in, your ribs should drop more, your tail should tuck more, and we might notice that our left knee wants to wander out to the left. Try not to let it. You're going to hold on to that right knee. You're going to really hug it in. Let your belly hollow. Let your jaw relax. Now, you can see the angle that your pelvis is at. You can see that your ribs are down. You're going to slowly start to move the left leg away from you, but you want to watch, like very often the pelvis will start to follow the leg, and we don't want that. You want to keep yourself almost like in a little wind relieving pose here on the right side as you stretch the left leg out. Just creating the conditions for the hip flexors to extend. Lengthen is the wrong word. You can't really lengthen a muscle. It is what it is. But we can create more range of motion at the joint, perhaps. Just breathing. You're going to place left foot sole back down, place right foot sole back down, adjust so that you're not falling off whatever it is that your hips are on. You're going to bring your left knee into your chest. And we absolutely might notice a difference in the right and left side. Maybe I have, more ability to flex one hip than the other. As you bring the left leg in, you might notice the right leg wants to wander out more. Or your right big toe came off the floor. Your arch lifted. Something at that end changed as you moved this end. It's just really interesting to observe that. And we're trying to drop our ribs. And we're trying to straighten the right leg out. And you might, if you notice, way different range of motion for me, one side to the other. I can't quite extend my right leg as much as my left. And I would, if I were to tell you, if I went based on feeling, I would tell you my right hip is my good hip. But it has significantly less flexibility than my left hip. So just things to consider. There's no good and bad body parts. There's just a lifetime of habit. Just breathing. And you're going to place your right foot sole down, place your left foot sole down. Take your bum up off your blocks. Stretch your legs out. Take all the props out from underneath you for a moment. Just for a moment, lie flat. And observe if you feel a little flatter. Maybe you feel like your ribs have dropped. Maybe you feel like your hamstrings are heavier. Maybe you don't. And then I'm going to get you to roll onto your stomach. So you're going to roll onto your stomach. Big toes touch, heels drop out. So you're a little pigeon-toed. Hands come around, the forehead rests on your hands. Another thing to notice, maybe you were uncomfortable lying on your back, and now you're comfortable lying on your front. And so you lay on your back and your back hurts, and you think, oh, I have a bad back. Then you lay on your stomach and your back doesn't hurt. Maybe you don't have a bad back. Maybe there's just certain conditions that your body doesn't like. And if we embrace the idea that we don't have bad body parts, there's just conditions our body doesn't like, we can change things, potentially. So letting your pelvis settle, super gently bend your right knee. And then just add a little rotation, a little side to side. There absolutely might be sensation in your knee here, might be sensation in your hip, might be sensation in your low back. And you're going to lower that leg down, you're going to lower the leg down, you're going to notice if you're a little flatter, and then bend your other knee. Same again, little windshield wiper. Lower that leg down, big toes touch, heels wide. You're going to pick yourself up onto your elbows. So you're coming to the place where shoulder and elbow are stacked. You want to push down through your elbows, see if that gives you a little more length. I don't know if that's the right word. Think about a book being on top of the head and you're pushing up into that book. And look up with your eyeballs. Kind of pushing down through your elbows, you're looking up through your eyeballs, but you're balancing a book on your head, so you're not just craning the neck. And you're breathing. You can press the legs into the floor a little bit. Maybe you feel your glutes turn on a little bit. That's okay. Just Breathing, little spinal extension. Take one more breath here. Lower yourself down. Hands come around, forehead rests on your hands. Tuck your ribs up and in. Just observe. If you were feel like you are a little flatter than you were before. In any way that works for you, you're going to make your way up. And you're going to carry on your day. So you're going to come out of your practice with that little bit of spinal extension and just go about life. Or you feel like you want to relax a little bit today, set yourself up, have a little bit of relaxation. Thank you all for joining me. Have a great day.